Good morning, students. So, in the last class, we discussed about the system, what is system, and system properties, types of system, okay, etc. Now, we are going to discuss about the system properties. System properties. Here, H is a system. Here, H is a system having the input x of t and its output is y of t. This output is also called as response. It is also called as response. Okay. X of t is the input of the system H and y of t is the response, its response or output for the continuous time signal. For coming to the discrete time signal, H is the system with x of n as the input and y of n as the output. Here notation is like this. Let H represents the system, x of t tends to y of t through H represent a system with input x of t and output y of t. Okay, so property first one is stability property. Stability is bounded input, bounded output. So if you apply the bounded input to the system, then we will get bounded output. Okay, bounded means some limited input, or some finite input. Okay, that is called bounded input, bounded output, stability. Next one is memory or memoryless. What is meant by memory system? Present output value depends on the future or past input. It has some memory. So present output depends upon the memory. That memory consisting of future and past inputs. Memoryless system means present output value depends only on the present input, present state. It depends upon the present state only. That is called memoryless system. Memory system means it depends upon the future and past inputs. Example, memory systems are y of t equal to 5xt, that is present state, plus integral minus infinity to t x of tau d tau. So this is present state. Okay. Next, y of n is equal to sigma m is n minus 5 to n plus 5 x of n. This is a past state or future state. Okay. So this is memory system and memoryless system examples. Next one is causal and non-causal systems. What is meant by causal system? Present output depends on present and past values of the input. Present output depends upon present or past values of the input. Non-causal system means present output depends on future values of input. So present and past values. If the output depends upon the present and past values of the input, then that is called causal system. Non-causal system means present output depends on future values. That is the if y of n is the present input, that depends upon the x of n plus 1, x of n plus 2, like that. So that is the future value of the input. So that is called non-causal system. Note memoryless implies causal, but causal not necessarily be memoryless. Memoryless means there is no memory. Memory means there is no memory means present output depends upon the present input only. Similarly, causal system means present output depends on present or past values of the input. Okay, so these two are related. Memoryless is gives rise to casual, but casual may not give rise to memoryless. Next, time time delay or advance of input tends to an identical time shift in the output. Let us define system mapping y of t equal to h of x of t. The system is time invariant. Time invariant means it does not depend upon the time. Next, linearity property. What is meant by linearity property? If it obeys the superposition and homogeneity property, the system is said to be linear if it obeys the superposition and homogeneity property. Then that is called linearity property. Linear system. We take linear system. If x1 of t is the input of the linear system, y1 of t is the output of the linear system H. Similarly, x2 of t is the input of the linear system H and y2 of t is the output of the linear system H. Then a into some weighted sum a into x1 of t plus b into x2 of t is nothing but the input of the linear system H and its output is a into y1 of t plus b into y2 of t. If it does not satisfy this condition, then we can say that it is a non-linear system. It means that it has to satisfy the superposition and homogeneity property. Superposition and homogeneity property, right? Next, properties of a system. These properties were already discussed. Okay. causal, linear, time invariance, etc. Okay. Next, coming to the signals and vectors. It is nothing but analogy between. Analogy means similarity between vectors and signals. What is meant by vector? What is meant by vector? It is having magnitude and direction. Signal means it is only direction. Okay. So analogy between signals and vectors. A vector can be represented as sum of its components. A signal can be represented as sum of its components. Okay. But vector is having both direction as well as magnitude as well as direction. Whereas a signal is having only direction. Right. Remember. So a component of a vector. How to write a component of a vector? Okay. So a vector is represented by boldface type. Boldface type means specified by its magnitude and direction. Okay, boldface means it is represented in terms of magnitude and direction. Suppose, for example, vector x of magnitude mod x and vector g of magnitude mod g. Let the component of vector g along x, both are vectors. Here x is a vector as well as g is also a vector. If you write a component of one vector along with another vector, that is c into x. Here g is written as another vector x as cx. Geometrically, this component is the projection of g on x. The component can be obtained by drawing a perpendicular from the tip of g, on x, tip of g on x, and expressed as g equal to the vector g can be expressed in terms of x as cx plus some e. E is error function or error signal. Okay, so here we are representing one vector along another vector. It means that one vector is represented in terms of another vector. So here g and x are both two vectors. So here g is represented as c into c into x plus e, where e is some error vector or error signal. Okay, so component of a vector. There are infinite ways to express g in terms of x. So see here. So here in the earlier case, e is the error signal. Here e1 is error signal. E2 is like this. We have infinite number of errors will appear. Okay. So if it is like this, then g can represent it as c2 into x plus e2. Similarly, g equal to c2 into x plus e2. So g is represented in terms of x plus another vector, which is called the error vector. Here e1, e2 up to en, these are all called error vectors. Suppose if we approximate g by c into x, approximation. Here we are taking the approximation of the one vector as another vector. So if you approximate g as c into x, then it is approximately equal to cx. G equal to c into x. Okay. So if you approximate g by cx, then we will get g is approximately equal to cx. Right. So g is approximately equal to cx. The error in this approximation is the vector e, where e is equal to g minus cx. So how to get the error vector in this expression? E equal to g minus cx. The error in this approximation, both cases for last two figures are also e1. Error e1 equal to g minus cx1. Similarly, e2 equal to g minus cx2. Okay. So here we are approximating the vector g as c into x. If we approximate the vector g as c into x, then we will get the error vector e, that is e equal to g minus cx. Okay. So for these two examples, we will get g1 and g2, or e1 and e2 are e1 equal to g minus cx1 and e2 equal to g minus cx2, where e1 and e2 are error vectors. E1 is the error vector as well as e2 is also error vector. Okay, this is a component of vector, one vector along with another vector. Okay, we can mathematically define the component of vector g along with x. We take dot product. Dot product, we already know about the dot product. So dot product are inner scale of two vectors g and x as, so by writing g dot x as g dot x, by using dot product, g dot x is equal to mod g into mod x into cos theta. Okay, the length of the vector by definition is mod x square is equal to x into x. Okay, so the length of the component of g along with x is c into mod x, that is c into mod x, that is mod g into cos theta. Okay, c into mod x, the length of the component of g along x, multiplying both sides by x mod x, so that we will get the c into mod x whole square is equal to mod g into mod x into mod x into cos theta. Okay, with a g by using dot product g dot x equal to mod g into mod x into cos theta. So the length of the vector by definition is x square, mod x square is equal to x into x. Okay, right? The length of the component of g along x is c into x, that is g into cos theta. Okay, g into cos theta. Okay, then multiplying both sides by mod x, then we will get c into mod x square equal to mod g into mod x into cos theta, that is equal to g dot x. Okay, so g dot x is nothing but mod g into mod x into cos theta, or c equal to g into x by x square, or g into x by mod x square. Okay, so consider the first two figure. First figure again the expression for c. So this is the first figure g and cx with the error function, error vector e. So c equal to g into x into x, or 1 by x square or x square into gx. So let g and x are perpendicular. Here g and x are perpendicular. Perpendicular means these two are orthogonal to each other. Perpendicular means these two are orthogonal to each other. G has a 0 component along x gives c equal to 0. Okay, if these two are perpendicular to each other, then g dot x is become 0. G dot x equal to 0. Why? Because these two are orthogonal to each other. These two are perpendicular to each other. If these two are perpendicular to each other, or orthogonal with one and another, then c value will become 0. So that g dot x will become 0 from equation g and x are orthogonal if the inner product of two vectors is 0, that is g dot x is equal to 0. Okay, so that is the component of one vector along with another vector. This is about the component of one vector along with another vector. Component of vector, here we are taking two vectors, these two are perpendicular to each other. If these two are perpendicular to each other, then we can say that these two are orthogonal. Okay, then these two are orthogonal, then if these two are orthogonal, then the product of dot product g dot x will become 0. Okay, otherwise the c will become g dot x by x dot x, or it is equal to g dot x by mod x whole square. Okay, similarly you can see the component of signal. So far we discussed about the component of a vector, component of one vector along with another vector. Now you will see the component of one signal along another signal. Okay, vector component and orthogonality can be extended to signals also. Okay, consider approximating real signal g of t in terms of another real signal x of t. How we will approximate g of t as c into x of t. G of t is approximately equal to c into x of t for the particular bounded inputs. T1 is less than or equal to t is less than or equal to t2. The error signal e of t in the approximation is given by e of t equal to g of t minus c into x of t for t1 is less than or equal to t is less than or equal to t2, and it is 0 otherwise. Okay, then the component of a signal as energy is one possible measure of signal size. To minimize the effect of error signal, we need to minimize its size. Okay, so here we have to minimize its size. So which is its energy over the interval t1 and t2, over the interval t1 and t2. So E energy signal is equal to integral t1 to t2 e square of t dt. What is meant by E of t? The expression E of t is g of t minus c into x of t. So here, to minimize the error, we are taking the integration during the interval t1 to t2, t1 to t2, and square of the error signal e square of t dt. So g of t minus c into x of t whole square dt. This is definite integral with dummy variable t as function of c, not t. Okay. So from some choice of c, the energy is minimum. To minimize the error, so we have to differentiate the error signal with respect to E, and which is equal to 0. It is the necessary condition for minimizing the error. We are differentiating energy signal E with respect to E, and which is equal to 0. So dc with respect to C. Okay, we are differentiating the error signal E with respect to C, and which is equal to equated to 0. So d by dc of integral t1 to t2 g of t minus c into x of t whole square dt, which is equal to 0. Okay. So d by dc of integral t1 to t2 g square of t dt. This is in the form of a minus b whole square. So a square minus 2ab plus b square. Okay. So, and by simplifying this, we will get c equal to integral t1 to t2 g of t into x of t dt by integral t1 to t2 x square of t dt. Or we can write this as c equal to 1 by ex into integral t1 to t2 g of t into x of t dt. Okay, it is like this vectors g into x by x square. But here these are signals, then we can write this as integral t1 t2 g of t into x of t dt by integral t1 t2 x square of t x square of t dt. If these two are orthogonal to each other, if these two are perpendicular orthogonal to each other, then c value will become 0. Then integral t1 to t2 integral t1 to t2 g of t x of t dt is equal to 0, right? If these two are orthogonal to each other, right? So c equal to 1 by x in integral t1 to g of t into x of t dt. So g of t contains a component c into x of t. C into x of t is the projection of g of t on x of t. If c into x of t is 0, then c equal to 0. So if these two are orthogonal to each other, then integral t1 t2 g of t into x of t dt will become 0. Okay. So we'll see some example. From the square signal g of t, find the component of g of t of the form sin t, or in other words, approximate g of t in terms of sin t. So this is the given signal. G of t equal to c into g of t is approximated as sin t. So we can write this as g of t is approximately equal to c into sin t. C into sin t. For the limits 0 is less than or equal to t is greater than or equal to 2 pi. Okay, it is in between 0 to 2 pi. So this is the given signal. So x of t is sin t, and the error signal is integral 0 to 2 pi sin square t dt. Okay, from the equation of the signal c equal to 1 by ex into integral t1 to t to g of t into x of t dt. Okay, so it is equal to 1 by pi into ex is pi. So sin square t 0 to pi by simplifying this will get pi. Ex is pi 1 by pi into 1 by pi into integral 0 to 2 pi g of t into sin t dt, which is equal to 1 by pi into integral 0 to pi sin t dt plus pi to 2 pi minus sin t dt. By simplifying this, we will get 4 by pi, so that g of t equal to 4 by pi sin t, approximately equal to 4 by pi sin t. From the complex functions of t for an interval t1 is less than or equal to t is less than or equal to. So this is the solution. G of t equal to 4 by pi into sine 2. Coming to the orthogonality in complex signals. So far we discussed about the orthogonality of vectors, orthogonality of signals, and next we are going to discuss about the orthogonality in complex signals. Orthogonality in complex signals. Okay. Okay. See, the complex functions of t over an interval t1 is less than or equal to t is less than or equal to t2. G of t can be approximated as c into x of t, right? So ex equal to integral t1 to t2 not x of t whole square into dt. Okay, quotient c and the error in this case is e of t equal to g of t minus c into x of t. Okay, or e equal to integral t1 to g of t minus c into x of t whole square. So by whole square, a minus b whole square, this is a plus b into a minus b. So we know that u plus v whole square mod u plus v square is equal to u plus v into u star plus v star, that is equal to mod u square mod v square plus u star v plus u v star. So replace the given problem or substitute the given problem in the same equation, so that we'll get the e equal to like this integral t1 to the mod g of t dt whole square minus mod 1 by root ex into integral t1 to g of t into x star t dt whole square plus mod c root tx minus 1 by 2 tx into integral t1 to g of t x star t dt whole square. So c will become 1 by ex into integral t1 to t2 g of t x star of t dt. So two complex functions are orthogonal over an interval if integral t1 to t2, here the condition is if you take two signals g1 of g1 of t and x1 of t, like that here in complex signals x1 of t into x2 star t dt is equal to 0, or integral t1 to t2 x1 star of t into x2 of t dt is equal to 0. This is the condition for orthogonality in complex signals, that is integral t1 to t2 x1 of t into x2 star t dt, which is equal to 0, or x1 star t integral t1 to t2 x1 star t into x2 of t dt, which is equal to 0. Next, coming to the energy of the sum of orthogonal signals. Energy of sum of orthogonal signals. Okay, suppose if you take two orthogonal vectors x and y is equal to the sum of the lengths of the square root of two vectors, that is z equal to x plus y, then mod z square is equal to mod x square plus mod y square. Sum of the energy of two orthogonal signals is equal to the sum of the energy of the two signals. That is, if you have x of t and y of t are orthogonal signals over the interval t1 comma t2, and if z of t equal to x of t plus y of t, then ez equal to ex plus ey. This is the energy of sum of orthogonal signals. Next, coming to the orthogonal signal space. The energy of sum of orthogonal functions is Ez equal to Ex plus Ey. Okay. Next, coming to the orthogonal signal space. So here, signal g of t for the interval t1 to t2 be approximated by a set of n number of orthogonal signals. That is x1 of t, comma x2 of t, comma up to xn of t. Okay, xn of t. So g of t is approximately equal to, how it is approximated over the entire interval over the set from t to t1 to t2. So it is approximately equal to c1 into x1 of t plus c2 into x2 of t plus up to cn into xn of t. It is equal to sigma small n equal to 1 to capital N Cn into xn of t. So here the solution is select a set of orthogonal functions xn of t and calculate the quotients Cn by Cn equal to integral t1 to t2 g of t xn of t dt by integral t1 to t2 xn square t dt or integral t1 to xn square t dt can be written as 1 by en integral t1 to t g of t into xn of t dt. Okay. So an orthogonal set of functions x1 of t, comma x2 of t up to xn of t is called complete in the n-dimensional space. N-dimensional space, if it is possible to find an additional function xj of t that is orthogonal to all xn of t. In case of an orthogonal set of approximation, will become an equality and equality. So g of t is equal to c1 into x1 of t plus c2 into x2 of t plus dash 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 plus cn into xn of t. Okay, it is equal to sigma n is 1 to n cn into xn of t. This series is called the generalized Fourier series of g of t with respect to the set xn of t. If the energy of the component cn into xn of t is Cn square into n, then Parseval's theorem states that the energy of the Fourier series of g of t is Eg equal to c1 square into e1 plus c2 square into e2 plus dash 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 plus cn square into en, that is equal to sigma n is 1 to n cn square into en. Okay, this is the orthogonal sigma space for the set of n-dimensional space. Okay, so Eg, the energy of the component of Cn into Sn, then Parseval's theorem states the energy of the Fourier series of G of t is Eg equal to C1 square into E1 plus C2 square into E2 plus up to Cn square into En, or we can write this as sigma n equal to 1 to n Cn square into En. Okay. Next we are going to discuss about the mean square error. What is that mean square error? As we already know that error epsilon is equal to 1 by t2 minus t1 during the interval t1 to t2. So 1 by t2 minus t1 integral t1 to f of t minus sigma r equal to 1 to n cr into gr of t whole square dt. Let it be considered as equation number 1. Okay. So this is in the form of a minus b whole square. So it is equal to a square plus b square plus minus 2ab. Okay. So we know that Cj is equal to integral t1 to t2 f of t gj of t dt by integral t1 to dj square t dt, which is equal to 1 by kj into integral t1 to t f of t gj of t dt. Replace Cj 1 by kj into integral t1 to t f of t gj of t by Cj or Cr. Okay, so integral t1 to t f of t into gr of t dt is equal to Cr into integral t1 to t gr square t dt, or we can write this as kr Cr into kr, that is equation number 3. Okay, substituting these values in equation number 2, we get epsilon is equal to 1 by t2 minus t1 into integral t1 dt f square t dt plus sigma r equal to 1 to n cr square kr minus 2 into sigma r equal to 1 to n cr square into kr minus 2 into sigma r equal to 1 to n cr square kr plus sigma r equal to 1 to n cr square kr will become minus sigma r equal to 1 to n cr square into kr, so that it will become epsilon is equal to 1 by t2 minus t1 into integral t1 to t2 f square t dt minus c1 square k1 plus c2 square k2 plus c3 square k3 plus up to cn square kn. This is nothing but the expression for the mean square error. So mean square error can be evaluated by using the equation epsilon equal to 1 by t2 minus t1 into integral t1 to t2 f square t dt minus sigma r equal to 1 to n cr square kr r is minus of c1 square k1 plus c2 square k2 plus c3 square k3 plus up to cn square kn. Okay, this is about the mean square error. And then in the next class we will see some problems. So with this today I will conclude the class. So what we have discussed today, so analogy between signals and vectors. So we approximate one signal along with another signal. Similarly, approximation of one vector along with another vector. Approximation of complex signals along with another signals. Okay, then mean square error. Okay, energy signals, energy of the um, vectors, energy of the signals. Okay, all these things were discussed in the today's class. In the next class, we will do some problems. Okay, so this I am concluding the class. Thank you.